In this session, we are going to learn about var, let, and const, and also what are the differences between them. In our previous session, we have already seen about variables. We have understood how to declare variables, what is dynamically typed language, and also we have seen what are the rules of creating variables. Now in this, we are going to see the differences between var keyword, let keyword, and constant keyword. Now here I have already written these examples. I will be explaining you one by one. You don't have to worry what I have written because I will be explaining every step of this. Okay, I have created one folder var let and const. Inside this, first I'm just going to select this var.js file. Okay, which means var keyword. Inside index.html, I have linked this var.js. Okay, first I am having folder. Inside this folder, I am having this file. So I have just linked here JavaScript. Now here, let me just change. I will just write here let var and const. I will save this. I'll just copy this path. Okay, instead of that, let me just open the live server. Okay, my live server will be opened. I'm just going to adjust my document here. Okay, my live server is opened. Now I'm just going to open the console. My console is also opened. Okay, this is my console. I'm just going to clear that one. Now inside this var.js, first we will see about var keyword, then let keyword, then constant keyword. Now first, what about the scope of the variable? Okay, var keyword, variables which are declared using var, they are having functional scope. So first let's see our first example using this global scope. Now first what I have done, I have just created one variable, my name, and inside this I have just initialized the value as Khanam. Okay, in our previous session we have already seen what are declaration, what is initialization, how to declare the variables, everything we have seen. So here I have just created one variable. Let me just hide this one. Here I have just created one variable. I have initialized the value as Khanam. Then below this, I have just created one function. Okay, function, you don't have to worry as of now. What is function? How to call function? How to write function? This we are going to see when our function concepts comes in. Here I have just written here function and my function name is what is your name. Inside this, I am just printing this console and I have given this variable name. And again, I am just printing this console and here I am just calling this function. Okay, this is how we declare function and this is how we call function. Once we call this function, whatever data we are having inside this, that will be printed. Now this variable is declared using var keyword. Okay, it is global scope or functional scope. Now this is global scope. I will just show you. You can see global scope or functional scope. The scope of the var keyword is the global scope or functional scope. It means variable defines outside the functions can be accessed globally. Now this variable is defined outside the function. Okay, here is my function and this is defined outside the function. So this variable can be accessed anywhere, that is inside the function as well as outside the function. Okay, this is what this definition says. And variables defined inside a particular function can be accessed within that function, which means that, okay, we are going to see that in next example. First, let us understand about global scope. Variables declared outside the function can be accessed inside the function as well as outside the function. So for this, my result will be Khanam and Khanam, because first I am writing this console and here I am having my name and this my name will be printed, that is Khanam. Then here I am calling this function. So inside this function, I am having this console. So again Khanam will be printed because Khanam value can be accessed here. Okay, this is our first example. Now second, we are going to see about function scope. Now inside this, first I have just created one function And inside this function, I have just created one variable. Okay, now before in our previous example, we have seen we have created variable outside the function. Now in this example, we have just created variable inside this function, and I'm just going to print this one. As I told you, it is global scoped or function scoped. Now inside this function, variables defined inside a particular function can be accessed only within that function. This variable, whatever I have created here, this I cannot access outside this function. My function has ended here. Now after this, I cannot access this particular variable. Okay, I will be getting error. So first I'm just going to print this console. So as I cannot access this variable, first only I'm just going to get the error. It is not going to execute the second line. I will show. You can see it is not going to execute. L name is not defined. If I just bring this console down, let me just bring this console down. I will save this. Now first I am calling function. So inside this function, I am having this data. So schema will be printed here. Then next I am having this console, and here I am trying to access the variable which is present inside this function. So I will be getting L name is not defined. If I just have this outside, I will copy, I'll paste. Now schema 1, I will save this. Now first I'll be getting schema because inside this function I am having this L name. Then outside this function I am having this one. So this we can access. Okay, this is about function scope. Variables declared inside the function can be accessed only within that function. We cannot access that variables outside that function. Okay, this is the third one. Redeclaring variables and updating values can be done using var keyword. I will just uncomment this one. Okay, I am not going to show the result. Now first I have declared variable language. Inside that I am having the value as English. Now after that I have just updated the value to Kannada. So when I print this one console.language, whatever new value I am having, that will be displayed here. That is Kannada. This is updating the value. Okay, updating values can be done using var keyword. Redeclaring of variables can also be done. You can see first I have declared the variable language. Again I am declaring the variable language here. Okay, declaration we have already seen. Var language. If I just write this one, this is called as declaration. So here I have already written var language. After that I have initialized. So again I am writing var language, which means I am redeclaring the same variable. Then after that I have assigned the value as Tamil Nadu. So now the value will be changed to Tamil Nadu. So first output will be Kannada, second output will be Tamil Nadu. I will save this. You can see first will be Kannada and second will be Tamil Nadu. Global scope we have seen, function scope we have seen, redeclaring variables can be done and also updating values can be done using var keyword. This is the fifth one. If we print variable without declaring and assigning the value, we get undefined. Okay, let me just explain you. Now here, first let me just comment this one. Okay, if we print the variable, first I am just printing this variable. I have not declared, I have not initialized any value. First is my console. So which means I am directly printing this one. And below this line, I have declared and initialized the value. So if we print the variable without declaring and assigning the value, we get the result as undefined. I will save this. Now if I just show you, you can see the result will be undefined. Now after declaring this variable and after initializing this value, if I just print this one, I will be getting the value as Hindi. Because here already the value is assigned. After this I am printing this one. Then I will get the result as Hindi. Without this one, without declaring and initializing, if I just display this one, If I just print this one, then I will be getting the result as undefined. Okay, this hoisting we are going to see later when we see all about let, const and var. Okay, this is all about var. Global scope, function scope, redeclaring and updating can be done. And if we print this type of values, we will be getting the result as undefined. Okay, now we are going to come to let keyword, and inside this, I'm just going to comment this one and I will uncomment this one. I will come to let. I will be closing this, and also I'm just going to commenting out this. Now inside this let, I'll just comment it first. Now I don't have anything inside my browser. Let keyword, it is blocked scope. Okay, it means that, let me just bring this down. It means that it cannot be accessible outside the particular block. Now blocks are nothing but we have function blocks, while, for, and this is called as empty block. Okay, without any data, this is also a block. So what it is telling, the variables declared inside that block will be accessible only in that particular block. We cannot access that variables outside any of the block. Okay, we are going to see multiple examples inside this let keyword. This is our first example. Okay, I don't want to show the result. First, I have just declared one variable color 1. I have initialized the value as red. Then after that, I am just creating this function. Inside this, I have just created another variable color 2 and I have given the value as orange. But this red is outside, so which means it is global. It can be accessed inside the function as well. But this value is inside the function and that cannot be accessed outside the function. So here first color 1, so this red will be printed. Then color 2, this orange will be printed. As soon as I call this function, first will be red, then second will be orange. I will come here, you can see first is red, then second is orange. Okay, this is similar to var itself. Now we are going to see the second example. Now inside this, I have just created one variable color 1, and inside this function, I have just created the variable color 2. Now inside this function, I am accessing this color 1. So it will be successfully accessed because the same step. Okay, color 1 I am able to access. So red will be printed. Then outside this function, I am just trying to print this color 2. As I told you, it is blocked scope. Variables declared inside that block can be accessed only inside this particular block. I cannot access outside of this block. Now this color 2 is outside of this block, so it will not be printed. I will be getting error. After that I am calling function, so directly I am just going to get the error. This function will not be called. You can see directly I am just going to get the error. Color 2 is not defined. Now let me just comment this one. I will uncomment this. Now outside this also I can access this red color. Again, if I just bring this down, uncomment this one, I will save this. Now first here I am having color 1 that will be printed. Then I am calling this function. Again color 1, again red will be printed. Then finally I am having color 2. It will not be printed. So I will be getting this error. Okay, this is our second example using this let. Okay, this is similar to var itself. Function variables within the block can only be accessed in that block itself. We cannot access those variables outside the block. Okay, this is our third example. Okay, you can just take the screenshots as well. Now here what I have done, I am having two blocks. First I am having function block which is ending here. Okay, this is entire function block, and this is if block. Okay, we are having inside one block, we are having another block. So what I have done, first I have just created one variable color 1. Inside this, I am just having red. Then I have created one function. Inside this function, I am having color 2 as orange and I am printing color 1. Okay, I will be getting the red as we have already seen. Now this is the new block. As I told you, each blocks are different from each other. But when you see here, this block is child of this block because this block is inside of this. Okay, this is a complete separate block. This is the parent and this is the child. So this block is coming inside this block itself. So when I try to access this color 2, which is declared inside this parent, then I will be able to access this orange. So our first result will be color 1, that is red, and inside this I will be having the orange color. So our result will be red and orange. Okay, this is our third example. I hope you are understanding this one. And this is our fourth example similar to that. First I have created, then directly I am just printing color 1. So I will be getting red. Now I have just created one separate block. Inside this, I have created the variable. Okay, child can access the values of parents. But inside this child, I have created this variable color 2. And parent inside parent block, I am just printing this one. So this will not happen. Child will able to access the parent variables, but parent will not have access to print child variables. So inside this block, I am having color 2. So when parent is trying to print this one, I will be getting error. So first result will be directly I am calling this one. So first will be red, then second I will just get error. The first will be red, then second I will be getting error. Now instead of calling this color 2 here, if I just call here, I will be getting the result. I cannot access this outside this particular block. But in this example, we have seen this color 2 is declared inside this parent. But here color 2 is declared inside the child. So child can access this parent variable, but parent cannot access this child variable. We will be getting the error. Okay, you can see this is the error we get. Color 2 is not defined. Okay, this is our fourth example. Now next, we are going to see the next difference. Redeclaring variables cannot be done, but updating values can be done using let keyword. But in var, what we saw, redeclaring and updating can be done, but in let, redeclaring cannot be done, but updating values can be done. Okay, this is our example. Here I have declared one variable data. Again, I am trying to declare this one. I am assigning the value as Khanam. You can see here itself I am just getting the error. Cannot redeclare block scope variable data. And here I am just updating this data and I am just printing this data. Okay, let us see the result. Directly I am just going to get the error. Data has already been declared. Okay, this is already declared. Again, I cannot use here let. Now if I just write here data Khanam, okay, you can see the value I will be getting as 10 because updating can be done using let keyword. So first I have declared this 100. I have updated to Khanam. Again, I have updated to 10. So the recent value will be 10. That will be printed here. If I just write here let, again I'm just going to get the error. Data has already, because here I have already declared that one. Again, I cannot declare this one. I will copy, and here if I just paste, you can see I will save this. First will be Khanam and then 10 because the value is updated here. If I print, the first data value is 100, then it got updated to Khanam, then again it got updated to 10. So the final result will be 10. Okay, this is what the sentence says. Redeclaring of variables cannot be done, but we can update the values using let keyword. Now we are seeing the next example. Let me just write here name. Declaring variables with same name in different blocks is possible. As I told you, it is blocked scope. I will just show you this example, then you will understand. Now in this, what it is saying, Now suppose this is my block, okay, this is the child block and this is the parent block. Now whatever variables I am having inside the child block, that I can create outside this as well, because this is the block scope. In separate blocks, I can create the same variable name. It is not going to affect that. So here I have given color one using let. Inside this function, I am just printing this red. So inside this if, again I am again you can see again I am redeclaring, okay, which means that, okay, this is global scope and this is blocked scope. Okay, there are two different blocks. So for two different blocks, we can use the same variable name. Then we will not be having any error. But in same block, we cannot use the same variable name again and again. We cannot redeclare that one using let keyword. I cannot do like this, okay, I will be getting error. In same block, I cannot create the same variable name. But in different blocks, I can just create. You can see here I am having color 1 and here also I am having color 1. I will not be getting any error. I will comment it out. So our first, here I am calling the function. I will come inside this function. First I am having console. As I already told you, parent will not be able to access the child variables, but parent can access this global variable. So this red will be printed here. Okay, it is going to consider this one. Then inside this if, again I'm having the same variable, but this is blocked scope. Whatever variables we have declared here, that will be accessed. So red and orange will be displayed. You can see red and orange will be displayed. Okay, you just have to understand the concept. Once you understand this one, then this particular examples will be very, very easy for you. Then let's see the second example related to this one. First, what I have done, I have just created one variable, color 1. I have initialized the value as red. Again, okay, this is global scope. As I told you, this is function scope. Now inside this function also, I can just create the same variable name. Okay, I can just give the same variable name because this is a separate block. Here I have just initialized the value as green. I have created one if block. Again for this one, I have created orange one. Then color 1 is displayed. Then outside this function, I am having color 1 and I am having color 1. Then outside of this function, I am having color 1. Then I am calling this data. So first it is going to execute this one, color 1. It is going to come before this function. Whatever data I am having here, that will be displayed. That is red color. Now I am calling function. I will come inside this function. Inside this, I have just created one variable green. Then I am having if. Then for color 1, I am having orange. So orange will be displayed here. First I will be having red here. Then orange will be displayed. Then these are outside this function. Okay, outside this if block. Now for this one, inside function, we are just having this one variable which is having green. So for this, green and green will be printed. So our result will be red. Then inside this function, this will be executed first, orange, then again green, then again green. Okay, this will be our result. Red, orange, green and green. Okay, I hope you understood. If you are not getting this one, you can slow down this one and you can watch 3 to 4 times. Then definitely you are going to understand this. Because maybe if you are a complete beginner, it will take some time to understand this concept. Once you understand, then this type of sums are way easier than what you are imagining right now. Okay, we are going to see the next example. If we print variable without declaring and assigning a value, we get an error. But in variable, we have already seen, if we print variable without declaring and assigning a value, we get undefined. Okay, we have seen this one. But in this, we will be getting error. We will just get cannot access subject before initialization. Okay, for var we will get undefined, but for let we get error. Now we are done with let. Now let us come to const. I will just open this and inside this we just have const. Const keyword it is having almost similar properties like we have in let keyword. Okay, it is block scope as we have already seen, except it cannot update the data. Once it is initialized, that will be the final value. We cannot again update the data. But in let, we have already seen we cannot redeclare, but we can update the values. In var also we can update the values, but in const we cannot update the values. So it is also a block scope. When a user is declaring a constant variable, they need to initialize it. Okay, without initializing, I cannot redeclare like this. Okay, this is completely false. I cannot just initialize like this. I will be getting error. While declaring variables using const, then we should always initialize it to some value, or else it is not going to take this. Okay, it will generate error. I cannot declare like this. The value should be given. Okay, let us see our first example. Color 1 I have created. Okay, this is the same example. First, I will call this function. Inside this, I am having red. Then I have created one more variable. I can give the same variable names using const also, but these are in separate, different blocks. Then again, I am having this color. Okay, here I am getting this error. Let me just comment it out. I will save this. Okay, inside different blocks, I can just reinitialize. I can give the same variable name. That is fine. But the same thing I cannot do here. I'll copy, I'll paste here outside this function. I cannot do here. I will be getting error. Color 1 has already been declared. But inside the blocks, I can perform these actions. This is our first example. Now this is our second example. Here I am having, you can see directly I'm just going to get the error because without initialization, I cannot declare this const variable. Directly I got this error, missing initializer in constant declaration. I have to initialize this one. If I get error, I'm not going to proceed further. If in first line only if I get error, I will not be able to proceed further. If I comment and if I give, I will be getting this result. Okay, but we should always initialize const keyword. But in var and let, it is fine. Declaring can be done now and later we can just initialize it. And here we are having the user cannot update the const variable once it is declared. Here I have declared this one. Now inside this function, I cannot do this one. I cannot update this value. From orange to red, I cannot do this one. So I will be getting this error. Now suppose if I just write here const, I will save this. I will be getting error because I can redeclare inside the separate block, but I cannot update this value. Okay, you should be getting the differences as well. You just have to make multiple examples and you have to learn by yourself. Okay, inside separate blocks, we can declare this one, but we cannot update the values. Once it is finalized, that is finalized. Okay, we cannot change. We cannot change this later. Okay, this is all about var and let. If you want, you can just take the screenshots of this example. Global function hoisting, I will be telling you. Once we see the differences, once I show you the PPT, I will be telling you about hoisting. I am having one practice set also. Okay, now let me just, for this practice set, you can just take 30 seconds to solve this problem. Just tell me what will be the final output. 30 seconds, I'm just going to count. Okay, People who got correct answer, well and good. If you have not got, if you are still in confused, then let us see this result. I will come here. Let me just close all these files. Come to index.js. I will comment. And in place of this, let me just write this practice set.js. Okay, now I'll come here. Now first, using this variable, using this var, I have initialized the value of a to 80. Then inside this block, I am just changing this one. I have changed the value to Khanam. So now this variable value is changed to Khanam. This a will be assigned to b. Now b value will be equal to Khanam. Now inside this block, I have just changed the value to Seema. But let only within this block only we will be able to access it. Outside we cannot access. Okay, only within this block only we are able to access this particular variable. Now this variable we are having Khanam. So when I print this one, whatever value we are having outside this, that will be printed, which means Khanam will be printed. Okay, this is var. So we are able to access the variables here. I can access the global variable here. So this will be changed. So when I assign this value, b will be equal to Khanam. When I print this one, I will not be having access to this block. Directly, I'm just going to print this particular value. So whatever value is stored inside this variable, that will be printed. So the answer will be Khanam. So whoever got this answer, well and good. If you have not got this answer, don't worry. If you keep on practicing, you will understand the differences between var, let and const. Now let me just show you the PPT. Okay, the scope of the variable is functional scope and the scope of let variables is block scope as well as the constant. Okay, for constant also we are having the block scope. Next we have it can be declared without initialization. We have seen I can just write here var x. Okay, var x I can just write like this var x. It can be declared without initialization. And this also can be declared without initialization, let x. But when we are writing const, we should always initialize the value. I told you a is equal to 10. We should always initialize this value. It can be updated and redeclared into that particular scope. We have already seen this example. It can be updated, but it cannot redeclared into the scope. But const, it cannot be updated or it cannot be redeclared into the scope. Both it cannot perform. It can be accessed without initialization and its default will be undefined. I told you without declaring and initializing the value. If I directly do console.log and if I print any variable, I will be getting undefined. But for this let, if I do the same thing without initializing and declaring variable, if I do the same thing, then I will be getting the reference error. Okay, the same goes for const. Before only I will be getting error because without initializing any variable, I cannot do this one. Okay, directly I'm just going to get the error. Okay, now this is about hoisting. Okay, variables declared using var or hoisted to the top of their scope and initialized with a value of undefined. Okay, previously we have seen this one. Okay, basically this one only. We are just telling this one in hoisting. Variables declared using let are hoisted to the top of their scope but are not initialized with any value. Okay, we will be getting the error we have already seen, and the same thing goes for const as well. Okay, let us see the example of hoisting now. These are the basic differences between let, const and var. Come here. First, let me just open this var, and inside this I have already written this hoisting. Now let's just see an example of hoisting. You can see First, if I just print this one, I will be getting undefined. But after declaring this variable, this value is updated inside this. So I'll be getting the value as juice. So the same thing we are just telling, variable declared using var are hoisted to the top of their scope and initialized with a value of undefined. They will be okay, this is on the top, but once it is on the top, I will be getting the value as undefined. Without initializing any value, I will be getting the value as undefined. Later on, if I just give any data, then that data will be displayed. I will come to let now. Let me just close this. Now for let, if I just do the same thing, then I'm just going to get the error. Okay. As soon as I give this variable, after that I'm just declaring and initializing, then I will just get this error, cannot access items before initialization. Okay. Variables declared using let are hoisted to the top of the scope but are not initialized with any value. Okay, they will not be initialized with any value, they will just give the error. Okay, the same goes to const as well. We'll be getting the same error. I will save this. Now if I just come to const, I will comment it out. Okay, the same, cannot access item 1 before initialization inside this const. Okay, these are the differences between var, let and const. I hope you understood about var, let and const. In our previous session, we have deeply understood about variables, var keyword, rules, everything we have seen. So if you are having more doubts, then you can go to that video, watch that video and clarify your doubts. Okay, that's all for this session. Next session, we are just going to continue with more and more JavaScript.